Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome to my YouTube channel, I don't know, but either way, I'm really happy to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And this is my video on 7 things I wish I knew before learning to ride a motorcycle. Now, just know that the rest of this video is going to be done via voiceover post-production.
You know, I remember when I was looking at videos on the internet of which bits of a motorcycle did what, and scouring the internet for best 125cc bikes for beginners, but there are a few things that I failed to take into account. After over a year of riding my motorcycle, I've learned a lot about the ins and outs of doing so, as well as the community, and this video is something that I wish I had come across before pulling the trigger on this decision. Here are 7 things I wish I knew before learning how to ride a motorcycle. The first thing I want to go over is insurance. Insurance quotes for you new motorcycle riders in the UK vary wildly depending on circumstance. How old you are, how many miles you plan to travel annually, whether or not you're already an existing road user, and even the area in which you live. Insurance companies take all of this into account and then give you the quote based upon that. That all sounds reasonable, but insurance quotes for brand new riders, especially those who are not existing road users, live in a part of the country that is known for vehicular robberies, those of you who are young, say around 16 to 24 years old, and who plan on taking long road trips on your motorcycle, you are going to get the more expensive insurance quotes in your first year of riding, since statistically you are more at risk of needing to claim on your insurance. The risk based on age brackets according to insurance companies, and I will put my sources in the description of this video, are as follows. 16 to 24 year olds are at the highest risk, 25 to 49 year olds are at moderate stable rates, and 50 plus years old are at the lowest risk. The insurance quote also takes into account the engine size of your motorcycle, as well as whether you're riding on third-party or fully comprehensive insurance. The main differences between the two are that third-party insurance is the most basic, legally required level of coverage to be legally out on a public road. It only pays for injuries to other people and damage to their property if you cause an accident, but it does not cover the cost of repairing, replacing, or recovering your own bike. If you are aged 16 to 24, you are less experienced on the road, so your insurance will inevitably be higher. You are statistically more likely to be involved in an accident, and premiums can average around £970 annually, but it will be more per year if you pay monthly, and this will be the same for all age brackets and insurance quotes. If you are aged 25 to 49, you will see a major price drop in quotes. Insurers view riders in this bracket as more mature and experienced, with median premiums typically dropping to around £367 annually. Now, if you're 50 years or older, you will see the lowest premiums, with median costs dropping to around £130 annually, since insurers consider riders in this bracket to be the safest and most experienced on the roads. The first year of riding, I could only get one quote from one company, and it costed me over £1,000 for the year. I only looked online, and I've heard that if you call the insurance companies and speak to one of their representatives over the phone, your quotes will drop significantly. It's also worth noting that car insurance companies do not cover motorcycles, so it's in your best interest to look for insurance companies that specialize in motorcycles to save you any grief when it comes to comparing quotes. Alright, I apologize, that was fairly long-winded, but there was a lot of important information that I felt needed to be stated. The second thing I wish I knew before learning to ride my motorcycle is that whether you're in the UK and are doing a CBT, or in the United States and completing your MSF course, your instructor will know more about riding a motorcycle than you do. You may think that a lot of what they're saying or making you do is counterintuitive and makes no sense, but trust me, if I've learned one thing from almost crashing into a bus at a junction whilst doing my CBT, it's that your instructor knows better than you do, and you must listen to them for your own safety. You may have done your research and watched other YouTubers giving tips on the CBT or MSF course like I did, but until you feel what it's like to ride for the first time, you have absolutely no idea what you're getting into. Listen to your instructor and all directions they give you, both on and off the motorcycle. Brush up on your highway code and road sign knowledge. Be prepared, but don't ever think that the course that you're on is merely a formality because you know better. It is a legal prerequisite steeped in health and safety training to ensure that you come home every day after a ride. Alright, the third thing is a little less heavy than the last part of point number 2, but it is still just as important. Please make sure that you will always be able to store your motorcycle and store it safely. Lock that thing up like it's Fort Knox. A desperate thief will do almost anything to get that motorcycle, especially if it's a really nice brand new one. I always look for sold secure powered cycle ratings, specifically gold and diamond tier locks, preferably diamond tier. Is it expensive? Yes. Is it a hassle? Oh yeah. But is it worth it to make sure that you can ride with your friends tomorrow or commute to work on Monday morning? Absolutely it is. Think of it like this. You are spending less money on a super high quality lock than you would if you just thought, nah, it couldn't ever happen to me, before waking up to find an empty spot where your machine used to sit proud and having to call your insurance and explain that you just couldn't be bothered to get a lock for your bike. You will have to pay a higher premium, a high excess, and because you didn't lock it up, they may even say that there's nothing that they can do because they'll classify it as your own fault for leaving it in a vulnerable position. Going off of being able to store it safely, it is a pain in my neck to get Lacey around where I store her, but it is worth it, and it's both a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because it takes a lot of time and effort to get her in and out of her spot, but it's also a blessing because any would-be thieves would have even more trouble getting her out of how she's stored, and their lack of keys is enough of a deterrent, even without the insane amount of locks that I use to secure her. Have security cameras installed and make sure that nobody wants to steal your bike. And it sounds horrible, but make it so that the bike next to yours is more appealing to steal because it has less security on it. Invest in DATATAG security so that, if worse comes to worse, your pride and joy does not get stolen. And if it does, you're able to phone the police and track it down a lot more easily than if you didn't have it, and you can call DATATAG and they can assist you. The police are trained now in the use of DATATAG, tracking and security systems, so thieves want no part of that if they have half a brain. The fourth thing I wish I knew when it came to learning how to ride a motorcycle is just how gosh darn expensive it is to buy high quality, solid gear that will protect you in the event of a crash. Now, a good friend of mine when we were out shopping for my first set of motorcycle gear told me not to be put off by some of the prices of the equipment because you cannot put a price on protecting your own life, especially when doing something as statistically dangerous as riding a motorcycle. But when I got into the store, I saw Shoei helmets that were about £600, ranging up to a cool G. I ended up getting a temporary helmet, which you've seen in my videos if you've been here long enough, which is a Givi HPS X08 modular helmet. I got it for like £130 and it was perfect for what I needed it for, which was learning to ride in a safe, controlled environment with an instructor. I've since moved on to my LS2 Advant X Carbon, which I think was roughly £400, so still on the lower end of that £1,000 price tag, but it's ECE 22.06 rated, which in contrast my Givi was rated at 22.05. Make sure you put your life before the price and dress for the slide, not for the ride. Keep yourself protected at all times, even if you're just going to the shop 5 minutes away. A lot can happen in 5 minutes and you have to be prepared for it. Now, the fifth thing I wanted to go over is how overstimulating it is to ride a motorcycle at first. Whilst driving a car is a more passive and mundane thing you have to do to get from point A to point B. Now, with that in mind, you still have to be actively cautious of other road users whilst you're driving a car, but not quite as much as when you're on a motorcycle. When you're in the saddle, you have a much smaller footprint on the road and are far less visible to other road users than if you're in a car. Even when wearing high-vis clothing and a brightly coloured helmet, the number one reason people give you when they crash their car into a motorcyclist is, "I'm sorry mate, I didn't see you." That is the reason I'm putting this in here, because I've had close calls before now with people almost crashing into me in their cars, not looking where they're going and almost running me off the road. It is terrifying. But you have to be actively aware of literally everything in your surroundings. Anything can happen on your journey, and you need to always make the right decision that will get you home at the end of your ride. Ride by the book, especially in your first year of being on a motorcycle. I didn't filter between lanes for the first year of riding because it scared the heck out of me. I was terrified of roundabouts because I always saw them as chaos when I was undergoing my CBT. Those things you will get over and eventually become comfortable with, but you still need to be actively aware. If you aren't exhausted at the end of your ride because you haven't been looking at escape routes in case things go south every time you stop in traffic, checked each front wheel of cars stopped to give way to see which direction they're going to go, be meticulously checking the traffic lights ahead of you to see how long they've been green so as to know when to slow down and stop, or the temperament of the driver in the lane next to you, then you're doing it wrong, in my opinion. You need to think proactively and preemptively. The sixth thing I want to bestow upon you is that when you finally completed your CBT or MSF course and you have the freedom to ride wherever you want in your country, you kind of have to think like a criminal. Now, it'd be remiss of me not to say that this is sort of piggybacking off of point number 3, but when you're out and about and you have to store your bike, you have to make sure that you're doing it in a way that would either catch the eye of a bike thief and make them not want to go near your motorcycle, or you would park it so it's as inconspicuous as possible while still being guarded by locks that are heavier than your engine. I personally prefer to do the latter when I'm out, but you can't just put on the steering lock and call it a day. It only takes 1 or 2 good kicks to break your steering lock and then load your bike into a van, never to be seen again. That sounds terrifying, because that's your baby. That's what's stopping you from being stranded at this coffee shop. But now the bike is gone. Please don't ever let that happen. And again, be proactive in your precautionary measures to ensure that your motorcycle is safe, secure, and shows would-be thieves that you're not messing around. The 7th and final thing on this list, I know it's been a long one, is that in the UK at least, if you're riding on a CBT and hopes and dreams, you're not allowed out of your country. Sure, you can travel from Cornwall to Edinburgh via the A1 and A30, but you cannot take your motorcycle to a ferry port and head to Calais to go on a European road trip. You are confined to the UK and can't even go to the Republic of Ireland whilst holding a provisional license and a CBT, as CBTs aren't recognised outside of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. In order to do this, you need to have your A1, A2 or full unrestricted A license. I hope this video has helped you in your pursuit of knowledge, and I know that there was a lot to cover, and I have written down a lot more than I initially thought I was going to. But again, it's information I wish I had before learning how to ride a motorcycle. If this was helpful to you, please consider leaving a like on today's video, and if you want to see more from me, please be sure to consider subscribing as well, and clicking the notification bell so you never miss an upload. There will be a QR code on screen now, on the top left hand side of the screen, so if you're watching on a TV, you can scan that with your phone and it'll take you to my channel, where you can subscribe from there. If you've done that and still see no videos from me, I upload every Monday and Wednesday at 4 PM BST or GMT depending on the time of year, and I'm more than happy to help answer any questions you may have. So if there are any, or you just want to say hello, please feel free to comment down below. I reply to all comments, and it would mean a lot to me if you left some constructive criticism down there as well. I'm always open to improving my content. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe and keep the rubber side down.